Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean and today I'm going to be reviewing Treasure Island by R.L. Stevenson. So I have been aware of R.L. Stevenson's books since I was a teenager, but I wasn't interested in reading them because I knew he's an older author, so I just figured, well, he's probably boring, dry, wordy, I wouldn't like it. So I haven't read him. But several of his books are off the top 1,000 list, 1,000 Books to Read Before You Die by James Mustich. So I knew I had to read him, and Treasure Island and Kidnapped, which is this edition of book, are both on the top 1,000 list, and I put them on my 22 books to read in 2022 list. So here we are. When I started, I was really pessimistic. I was reading it just because he was on the top 1,000 list, and I really just wanted to get it done with. I did not expect I would like it. But as I started the book, Treasure Island, the first thing that jumped out at me was that the chapters were all relatively short, like 5-6 pages a piece. And I like that because I thought for older books, generally, I think they are really taxing to read because older writers are definitely more wordy. I think at the time, since no one really had very many entertainment options, writers wrote this way because the book would be more entertaining that way. If it takes longer to read, it would provide more entertainment, whereas now you want things to be shorter because people have so much less time apparently. They're just so quick to move on to other stuffs that writing is a lot punchier now than it was back in the day. So having shorter chapters right away made me feel relieved because it's like, okay, I could read 5-6 pages at a time. That's not too difficult. And what I like about shorter chapters about that length is I will think, okay, I'll read 5-6 pages, and then I do that, and I'm like, well, I could read 5 or 6 more. I do that, and then, you know what? The next chapter is only 4 pages. I'll read that too. So these books just feel easier for me to read and digest. They aren't as intimidating as reading like a 20 or 25 page chapter, or a 50-page chapter. So my next impression of the book was really the main takeaway of the book, and that is that R.L. Stevenson, Treasure Island in particular, is like the OG, the original pirate story. This book is everything that like Pirates of the Caribbean has ripped off. Everything you've ever read or seen in any kind of pirate show probably comes from this book, and not just that, but like adventure stories in general, hails largely, I think, from this book. There's pirates with peg legs, there's talking parrots, shiver me timbers. There's the character of Long John Silver, he's from this book. The whole concept of a buried treasure, a map leading to a buried treasure. Castaways, Pieces of Eight, Dead Man's Chest, Davy Jones, Yo Ho Ho and a Bottle of Rum. It's all in this book. Now, at first you may think, well, that's so cliched, but the thing is, this is the book that I think largely created all those things that we know of as cliches. This is where it originated from. So everything else after that is just really ripping off this book. I mentioned how it affects other books as well, not just pirate books. The main reason I say that is because the protagonist in this book is a boy. I don't know his age offhand. I would want to say like 12 or so. He is on this adventure, on this quest to find this buried treasure, and there's pirates all around and stuff. And so the whole cliche, I guess, is just this young teen or even a child gets roped into this adventure, and they are the center of the story. That's a pretty common story for like young adult stories. And I think for this time it was pretty new because usually kids were not the protagonist of stories like this. So for younger readers, it was like, wow, this is a protagonist like me. This is, I'm 12 and this character is 12. And a lot of stories after that have followed the same pattern of this boy hero. And R.L. Stevenson, I don't want to say he came up with it, but he was definitely one of the pioneers of it. So as I read this book, I came across a lot of things that to me now are cliches, but I didn't think of them that way. What I thought was dude, R.L. Stevenson is like the OG here. He is the original. Everyone else, all these stories I've read since, all these movies I've seen, all these cartoons, are just ripping this guy off. He is the one who came up with so much of this, and so he deserves the credit for this. So I think I've already kind of given an indication of what the plot is about, so I won't go in depth about that, but basically there's this map to this buried treasure, and they go on a quest to find it, and there's pirates are involved, and so there's like a mutiny, and this is where Long John Silver comes in. I don't want to say what role he has if you don't know, if you just know of that name. Okay, so in terms of more specific review points, as to the writing itself, I'm kind of torn here. It is definitely a bit older. I think the book was written toward the late 1880s maybe. So you can definitely tell the book has some age on it. Some parts of it do sound definitely more archaic. It is a little bit wordy at times, but not too bad. And especially because the book is a bit shorter with chapters, it doesn't feel like a tedious read. It feels like a pretty fast-paced action adventure story. So in terms of writing, it was pretty good. But all in all, the book was quite readable. There were a few parts where I was kind of like, I'm not sure what just happened in the last couple pages. But for the most part, it was pretty good and enjoyable, fast-paced, easy to read. As to the characters themselves, I'm really torn here. I don't think the characters, any of them in this book, are really like stand out, my favorite characters ever at all, really. But I think they're okay, they're passable. This is speaking purely from a more modern reader's perspective. If you read this book when it first came out, I bet the characters were more enjoyable then because the book was just different than what you're used to. Nowadays, though, I would expect more of the characters than I got from this book. But still, the characters definitely weren't a weakness. There were really just the two central characters, I felt, which were the main character, Jim, and then Long John Silver. Those were the two main characters. All the other characters kind of felt more like supporting cast. I don't think they were too well developed. But again, they weren't bad. It was just not as fully explored as you would see characters done today. What I will say, and this is kind of my last point, is that I thought the book was a lot more violent than I was expecting. So for what is basically a children's story from like 1880s or whatever, I thought the book would kind of skirt around violence and basically be like PG, where, you know, you see like pirate movies, pirate shows, whatever, when someone is shot, the camera just cuts away. So that's it, just bang, and okay, moving on. That was exciting. But in this book, that is not what happens. So there is a bang, there is a gunshot, and then someone is shot in the stomach or in the head. So it kind of says, you know, they wail on the ground, or that they're shot clean through the head and dead. So the book is quite violent in a way because it does show all that violence. It doesn't just cut away from it or just kind of skirt around it, skirt over it, pretend it doesn't exist, cut away. It pretty much shows the violence. You know, when someone gets shot, they have a freaking bullet in them and they will probably die. Sometimes not right away. Sometimes it will be hours of suffering. And that's what R.L. Stevenson says in the book, is that, you know, someone is shot or they lose a leg and 4 hours later, after suffering, then they die. So it's definitely not a PG-13 or a PG story. So there is some violence in here. And in a way that was quite unexpected for me. But I liked it because, you know, it's a pirate story. And so when people get shot, it's real. There's a bullet inside of them. It hurts. And yeah, rating it. This is difficult. I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 stars. For the main reason that there's nothing I could really justly dock it a star for. I give major props to R.L. Stevenson for putting so many of these things together that have become such staples of everything. Pirate shows, cartoons, young adult adventure stories, all of that. He is like the OG Mac Daddy grandmaster of it. He came up with so much of it, I think. And so I give major props to him for that. And kind of what I would say is that since he is kind of the original, you have to give credit to him. So in short, basically, I think you should read the book because, I mean, he's the original. So why would you just watch something that Disney or whatever ripped off? Read the original, the guy who came up with it, and show respect. Show respect to your elders, basically. So while I don't think I would classify the book as like a personal favorite or like one of the all-time great books ever written, I still think it is a very influential book. It is readable, it is enjoyable, and like I say, it's just created so much that has came since, that is now cliches, that I think you should give it a try. You should read it. I am a bit more optimistic about reading his other books. I am currently about to start on Kidnapped now, so I'll let you guys know what I think of that and if I think it's at all up to par with this book. Have you guys read any books by R.L. Stevenson? I have heard a few readers saying that their favorite book by him is The Strange Case of Jekyll and Mr. Hyde or whatever. A lot of people are saying that's his like best book, and that is also off the top 1000 list, so I will be reading that relatively soon. So, have you guys read any books by him yet? What do you think? Are you going to give it a try? Have you seen any Treasure Island movies? I was reading some reviews for this book and someone mentioned the Muppet Treasure Island movie, and I really want to see that now because I think that would be like a perfect send up of this book, basically, because I think that's exactly what this book needs, would be Muppets. That is what would take it from being good, decent, to elite, just awesome. So I really want to see the Muppets Treasure Island movie now because I just think that would be excellent. This would be the perfect book for that. So I want to see that. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys give this book a try at some point. It is definitely worth reading, and you have to give R.L. Stevenson respect for coming up with all of this. He is the original, so he's definitely earned my respect. That is it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good time. I hope you have a good day. I hope you're doing well and all of that. You are important. Stay strong. Life can be hard sometimes, but it does always get better. So that's all. I hope to see you guys on a future video. Thanks for watching. Bye.